Tensions begin to surface as Jodie's web of deception finally starts to unravel and catch up with her in Coronation Street. Jodie Ramsay, a character in Coronation Street, gives off an undeniably unsettling and eerie vibe. There's simply no denying that, but perhaps the most disturbing aspect of her personality is how much about her past and motives still remains a mystery to everyone around her. What has been revealed so far is that she is actually the long-lost sibling of Shona Platt, who managed to escape their deeply troubled and unhappy childhood home, leaving Jodie behind to endure life with their abusive father and a mother who failed to intervene, ultimately allowing years of resentment and emotional damage to take root within her, something she has clearly never been able to overcome or let go of. Jodie eventually managed to reconnect with her sister after escaping from the back of Graham Foster's van during the chaos and destruction in Corriedale, where he had been hired by an organized crime syndicate to locate her and hand her over to them for unknown but clearly sinister reasons. Following a brutal and bloody assault at the hands of the gang's enforcers, Graham later confessed to Rona Goskirk, saying, "Do you remember that issue I was contracted to eliminate? I mentioned it when I first met you. That issue was Jodie. What I'm going through now is the consequence of letting her get away and then backing out of my deal." This confession strongly suggests that the individuals Jodie has been entangled with are not only ruthless, but extremely dangerous. Since making her way to Weatherfield, Jodie's manipulative and disturbing behavior has escalated dramatically, becoming far more intense than before. Yet her true intentions, her ultimate objective, and the reason she is being pursued by such lethal criminals all remain completely unclear. Speaking previously to the Mirror, Olivia hinted at the complexity of the storyline, explaining that the situation is far from simple and will take time to fully unfold and make sense to viewers. She elaborated further by saying that audiences should expect numerous unexpected developments and dramatic twists along the way, acknowledging that the uncertainty has been challenging, as everyone is eager for answers, questions she is frequently asked but is unable to reveal anything about. While settling into life at the Platt household, Jodie has made calculated and deliberate efforts to disrupt the family from within, appearing determined to emotionally hurt Shona by manipulating situations, attempting to turn her stepdaughter Lily Platt against her, and even trying to seduce Shona's husband, David Platt, to create further tension and chaos. Her actions have not been limited to just the Platt family, as Jodie has continued to carry out cruel and malicious acts against others in the community, seemingly deriving personal satisfaction from causing distress, and she keeps small items from these incidents in a disturbing collection. An eerie box filled with tokens that serve as reminders of her actions and perceived triumphs. After a relatively minor disagreement with Bernie Winter, Jodie secretly broke into her home and deliberately defaced her wedding photographs by cutting Bernie's face out of them in a particularly unsettling act of spite. Upon returning to her own place, she added one of the cutout faces to her growing trophy box, which is already filled with various belongings taken from people she has targeted, each item representing someone who has crossed her in one way or another. Among these items was also a book she had stolen from Brian Packham following a confrontation with him at the shop. Jodie also managed to ingratiate herself into the Swarla household under the pretense of helping care for baby Connie, but her true intentions quickly became clear when she stole Lisa Swain's police badge, using it as a tool to create further disruption and exploit a false sense of authority. However, her carefully controlled world is shaken this week by the unexpected return of Olivia. Olivia had previously encountered Jodie living on the streets and believed her to be a child she had once cared for, during which time Jodie fabricated a story claiming she was in witness protection after witnessing a murder, convincing Olivia to promise not to reveal her whereabouts to anyone. Now that Olivia has arrived in Weatherfield, Jodie is reluctantly forced to introduce her to Shona, clearly uneasy about the possibility of her separate lives colliding and exposing her lies. When Shona warmly welcomes Olivia and invites her to join them for dinner, Jodie becomes increasingly frustrated and anxious, subtly trying to push Olivia away. The situation becomes even more precarious when Olivia casually mentions Jodie's supposed protection situation, immediately catching Shona's attention and raising suspicions. Although Jodie has proven herself to be highly skilled at fabricating convincing stories and constructing elaborate false realities, the question now remains, could something as simple as a child's honesty be enough to bring everything crashing down? And could Olivia ultimately be the key to exposing the truth and unraveling Jodie's entire scheme? Coronation Street tensions reached new heights in tonight's episode, Tuesday, April 21st, as Carl Webster crossed a serious line, deliberately flooding Debbie's cherished hotel as part of a calculated revenge scheme. The shocking act unfolds after Debbie refuses to bow to his pressure, instead attempting to settle the conflict by offering him money to disappear from her life permanently. However, with emotions already running high, viewers are now questioning whether Debbie may come to regret completely shutting Carl out. Carl quickly asserted dominance at the hotel, taking position behind the bar and ordering Ryan around as though he were already in charge. Convinced he was in control, he openly claimed that he was on the verge of owning half of the establishment. He had expected Debbie to yield to his ultimatum, either transfer half of the business to him or face him reporting Ronnie for assault. Yet Debbie remained unwavering in her stance, refusing to be intimidated. When Carl later confronted her at the flat, Debbie held her ground and made it clear he would never gain ownership of the hotel. Although she had once shown sympathy towards him after discovering his deception about being her son rather than her biological mother, that compassion had now completely evaporated. In a moment of frustration, she even described him as unlovable, highlighting the depth of their breakdown. Rejecting her final offer of money, Carl stormed off in anger, visibly consumed by a desire for retaliation. Left emotionally shattered, Debbie collapsed into Ronnie's arms, fearing that her decision may have pushed Carl into even more dangerous territory. Back at the Chariot Square Hotel, Carl's rage escalated further. He vandalized one of the rooms before taking things to another level entirely, leaving a tap running intentionally, setting up a destructive flood that could cause major damage. With Carl increasingly burning bridges and alienating those around him, speculation among viewers has intensified that his time in Weatherfield may be running out. He is already one of several characters rumored to be involved in the upcoming flash-forward murder storyline scheduled for April 23rd, and fans are now convinced his fate is sealed, with some even calling for his downfall. Reactions on social media platform X were swift and intense. One viewer wrote, "Carl causes the hotel to flood. Just get rid of him," while another speculated, Carl or Theo, or maybe both, could be heading for a fatal end. A third comment was even more direct, stating, "Carl needs to go. He's completely rotten, especially after everything Debbie did for him."